This is episode 288 of the Gold Squadron podcast. I'm your host, Dion. I'm very, very tired and have slept maybe 1 to 2 hours a night over the last 3 weeks. Morales. I'm joined today by Marcel. Rebellions are built on stress. Manzano.
And it looks like you put me in a beard sandwich. Nice.
Correct. Will, Magna leading every squad. Hagewood.
Actions are cool. She gives them out.
You get an action, and you get an action. Ryan, the last week of the first year. Staniszewski.
This Friday will be a complete year one for young Oliver.
His first trip around the sun. You made it. And James, Andor is king. Ritter.
It is king. It was an excellent show, and you should all go watch it.
Interesting enough, I really enjoyed it. My wife has not. She watched the first couple episodes. She's like, "This is too stressful for me," which I found that interesting because it does have a lot of it's a lot of build up. It's this big tension release, which I found interesting. So she hasn't seen it yet.
See, Will, you have no excuse. This man just had a baby, and he's seen it, and you haven't. So, no more excuses.
Yeah, I mean, for me though, it's like being 2 o'clock in the morning, and my baby's been screaming, and the only thing stopping her from screaming is holding her. So I'm like, I guess we're gonna watch Andor now. All right, so the plan today. We're going to be taking a look at Hotshots and Aces 2, new pilot Boogaloo. We got a bunch of new stuff, and we want to take a look at not only the cost of these new pilots, but maybe some strategies for how they can fit into squads. Because the missing piece that we didn't have was how much were these pilots going to be. We got Siege of Coruscant, we got the Battle of Yavin, and then we did not get those new points until basically upon release. So we're going to go ahead and be taking a look at it faction by faction, each of us taking a faction. There's 5 of us. What happens when you get to the last 2? We'll figure it out. We're professionals. It'll be fine. I promise. Now, before we jump into that, I want to remind you that our podcast is brought to you by our amazing patrons. You can go to patreon.com/Gold Squadron to get yourself some awesome gifts twice a year and just to support the work that we do. As for our next upcoming events when it comes to travel, as you guys know, I am currently marooned. All right, I am my wings. I'm not flying too much right now because of the second baby, but we do have upcoming the Las Vegas Open, which I believe we're going to be at. We're still ironing out some details there. We also have, of course, Adepticon, which would be the World Championship, and maybe a couple others in between there. Still, we have some things still in the works. We'll find out what happens. All right, so Hotshots and Aces 2. We're gonna go ahead and get started here. Whose birthday is the closest? You guys, that person can go first. Is it James? When's your birthday, James?
On LVO.
On LVO day.
December 31, buddy.
I was gonna say, there's a bunch of crab goats in here, so it's gonna be some of them.
Is it Marcel then?
So it's Marcel.
Oh, but I'm not done doing my list yet. So.
All right, cool. Then we'll pass it off to James. But before we do that, shout out to Cynic2323 for hitting that 3-year mark. All right. He's looking for a game, by the way. By the way, I might start posting looking for game at like odd times of the night because I've been really busy and I can only really play at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. If it allows it, but let's go ahead. Let's hit it, James. Our Republic sommelier. What you got for us with this new Hotshots and Aces 2?
Yeah, I got 4 different variations that we can run through real quick. That first one at the top is going to be an Adigalia and Kit Fisto list, 2 of the new pilots we have. So starting at the top here, we have Adigalia in the Delta 7 Aether Sprite, the CLT. She has the ability to reduce range bonuses, and when she's attacking, or while she's attacking at range 3 or defending at range 1. Gave her some defensive, brilliant evasion, and chopper, and also gave her some a little bit of offensive tech and predator. So hoping to jam her in there, and I think she'll be a good chopper carrier, able to, because you do need to make those range 1s, and that ability to prevent the range 1 bonus for your opponent could be pretty helpful. Also have Obi-Wan in this list, able to provide a little bit of support to the rest of the team through those extra focuses, and has a shield upgrade and predator. Also have Contrail, Sock Contrail out there. Got 3-point Contrail with the standardized Ion Limiter Override, Precise Astromech, and Ion Bombs, and Besh. Pretty neat little ship out there for 3 points. We got 3-point Contrail back. Well, I guess we've always had 3-point Contrail, right? But this was a pretty good buy with that Precise Astromech, being able to lock focus. And the other new pilot here, we have Kit Fisto, bringing some defensive tech for the rest of his team in the effect of, while another friendly ship defends, if the attacker is in its bullseye, you may spend 1 force to change one of the defender's blank results to a focus. So very similar effect of what is that ship, Ayala, but instead of Ayala having to make range 1 in her front arc, Kit Fisto wants the defender to have the attacker in the bullseye, so like looking straight at him, and he can spend a force to change a blank to a focus, which works really well with Obi-Wan able to hand out those focuses. And
Can I interject?
Yeah.
There's no range on Kit Fisto, right?
Nope.
Just friendly defending with the attacker in the friendly's bullseye.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and Kit Fisto has a weird loadout where he has 2 force, talent, a droid, an astromech, and a mod slot. Which, if you notice, I did not say the word cannon slot. So one, I think the only Ada that does not have a cannon, which is pretty interesting. Or like at least like the what are they called? The new ones with the standardized
And ancillary ion weapons or something.
Yeah, though, which are pretty neat in themselves. And then to round out this list, I just have a little bit of clone support in Hawk, able to hand out end phase boost or barrels to friendlies at range 0 to 1, as long as they went fast. And also bring support in dedicated synchronized console and a little bit of help in ion torpedoes as well. So fun little list. Could see some good play.
So do you? One of the questions I had when we were kind of reviewing for today was the value of Adi at 5 points. You think like is this something that we're going to be seeing a lot of?
I'm not sure, because she's kind of weird in the Republic in that she is solely works only on herself. She's very selfish. So it's only while she defends or while she attacks. So I'm not sure if we may see her in a lot of lists. She is just a I5 Aether Sprite out there that has a real ability versus like Plo Koon. Plo Koon and more loadout. So has a real ability and has more loadout. So I mean, pretty like how often do we see Grand Inquisitor out there? And this is a very similar ability.
Well, Grand Inquisitor costs 6 points.
Yeah,
This one costs 5 for almost
No,
the same.
again, this is more like a click than a Grand Inquisitor, though.
True,
Yeah.
Grand Inquisitor gets 3 dice at
Grand
range
Inquisitor
2.
can get you the range 1.
Right.
Well, I mean, she prevents range bonuses at range 3.
Well, no, Grand just gets an extra attack dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, when it is like click when you're attacking. Exactly.
And defending.
And defending, yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So when she
audio is exactly like Click, just for herself. Like you can stop
Yeah.
range 1 bonuses
Oh,
against
well,
you, and you can
okay.
stop the range 3 bonus the
Well,
defender has when you're shooting.
That is Grant's ability, though.
No, because
The
Grant
range one.
adds.
Grant's got two
Grant
abilities.
makes his attack.
Well, yeah,
range 1.
yeah. And also prevents range 1 bonuses.
Okay, I think we're all in agreement.
I
My
agree
question, though, is what about, do you have 7B in a different list?
So I thought about 7B, and I think it may be better. But I mean, I really don't want to pay 7B for anything other than Anakin.
Well, I mean, if you're shooting 3 dice torp, though, if you're taking away the range bonus.
I mean, you were just telling me earlier how much you hate 3 dice guns. You want to be shooting 4 dice.
Well, 7 fleet gunner, I mean, maybe.
That is true. That is a
But,
torp.
Audi 7B does have the most loadout of all the 7Bs.
That's what
way.
I want to hear the comparison.
Wow.
So
okay.
Audi CLT is the equivalent of Plo Koon. Obviously, Obi-Wan's still
Audi
better.
also has the most loadout of any CLT also at 12 points. She can equip outmaneuver.
Ooh, yikes.
Outmaneuver
Really?
CLT Audi. So deny the range bonus and get outmaneuver. He's a range 3 attack.
Yeah, that sounds. Yeah, so like I said, she is a very AC ship, so I think she could be a great flanker. Maybe even better than Anakin, just because even if she does get caught, she has some help.
I think you still take Anakin first, and then if you want another 7B.
What if you have Anakin on another ship somewhere?
Why we can?
Why we get 5-point Ada?
If I'm spending 7 points on a 7B, it's going to be Anakin first.
That's
my 6.
You might not. Well, see, now we're doing some real comparisons. What about Kit Fisto? It looks like the cheapest Ada? Cheapest customizable.
Tied with Shakti Sak, which is a cool ship, but I don't know if
Also Obi-Wan Sock.
Obi-Wan Sock, of course. Yeah, that one's actually pretty good. The boost after.
By the way, just a quick note for anybody who's listening, going like, "What are you talking about? Sock? We're talking about Siege of Coruscant." Just so that you know, that was like realized. Like, wait a second. Some people are going to be real confused if they don't know.
Yeah, it's boys. It's boys.
We got boy
and
and
socks.
sock. Yeah,
Boys and socks.
That's what it's gonna have to be.
So I think Adigalia has a place as a standalone ace. She doesn't need any support. Would always help and enjoy it, but doesn't need it. And then Kit, I also have another Kit focus list. So if we want to move to that one,
yep.
So I'm jumping into Never Die. In this list, it's Ayala, Kit Fisto, Luminara, Mace, and Click. So I have 2 clicks out there. I dropped Adigalia on this one. But I do have Ayala and Kit Fisto on this list, able to give a possible 2 flank to 2 focus conversion. So that could be pretty great in saving one of these Jedi, which are all 3 agility, along with Click at 3 agility. And also Click has the Born for this, so is able to share those focus tokens for those converted eyeball results. So, and 2 of them have Brilliant Evasion. And 2 of them also have Compassion, I believe. Yeah, I put Compassion's in there. So it's going to be very difficult for you to burn down any one of these ships very quickly. Does anyone have any questions on the Ayala Kit Fisto combo?
I mean, it just looks like we got a lot of force, a lot of defensive tech. I like it.
Yeah, and Luminara out there. Yeah, and then we can move to the one that I'm most excited about. Some Naboo's out there. And we're not talking about Ricali. We're not talking about Anakin. We're not talking about Padme even. I love Padme.
But those were the good ones. What are you talking about, man?
Danae Hamburglar and Gavin Sykes. And just a reminder for Danae, that is while you defend or perform an attack, if the speed of the revealed maneuver is the same as the enemy ship's, that ship's dice cannot be modified. So if you go the same speed, it's like midnight, which is pretty cool. I did have a little fun combo there with ion torpedoes, collision detector, and Mark Sable closure. Pretty cool on that one. But we do get down to the new Naboo in Gavin Sykes. So I think the real cool thing about him is that he is the first Naboo to bring a mod slot, which is pretty important because this one can take synchronized consoles.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty neat. Especially when you don't need your lock anyway, because you have, while you defend or perform an attack, if the speed of your revealed maneuver is greater than the enemy ship's, you can reroll any of your blank results. So, in addition to that R2C4 soft calculate mod, that proton torpedo is going to be hitting pretty often. And then you can just pass off that lock to someone else at range 1 or someone else that has synchronized consoles at range 3. So who would you be passing to in this list? It's going to be Jag and Wolf. They are just high-fiving, playing patty cake with these locks out here. And this is both the sock, Jag and Wolf. So Wolf is able to spend Jag's locks when he's attacking someone that Jag has locked, and then whenever he attacks, Jag gets the lock back and then can pass it with synchronized console to somebody else, including Gavin, even out to range 3. So, and if that wasn't enough, you also have Ahsoka Tano out there with handing out some extra actions as well. Also has heightened perception. If it does get into a little bit of trouble, can still at least shoot that round.
I like that. I feel like this would be really good in action-based objective play. Like you have some actions free to be able to scramble and pick up.
Yeah, I need like one action the whole fight. Like the first engage, I probably need one action.
Yeah.
So I could probably just take with like Ahsoka Tano, give someone a lock. Maybe Wolf takes a focus, and then yeah, that's probably it. Everyone else just does scenario actions. So that one is pretty fun. I'm pretty excited about that one. Anyone have any comments on the new Naboo?
So at 4 points, it's the cheapest outside of the Naboo Handmaidens and the Dene, which you have in there as well. At 4 points, if you only have 4 points left over, is it value? I know Ahsoka's 4 points as well, or does it have to be in a kind of a salad type of list?
I mean, there's Aether sprites like Ahsoka, Luminara, Barriss, Mace are all like a bunch of Aether sprites, and the Ada we talked about before, all 4 points. So there is high competition, but none of those are shooting proton torpedoes. No 4 dice downrange attacks.
Yeah, rerolling blanks. So yeah, I mean, I think if you're taking a bunch of like maybe clones and stuff like that, where they don't have a bunch of punching power, and you need like a good puncher, and you don't want to take like a Jedi, you can definitely take Gavin here, because chances are you probably have a synchronized console somewhere in that list if you're taking some clones, to give Gavin a lock that he needs to shoot.
I think the problem becomes just getting a lock to Gavin at I3. Like Jag is the only source of it without just taking the lock natively.
Wolfpack.
Yeah, Wolfpack. No. Wolfpack doesn't work there. It's a different Wolfpack.
No, not Wolf's.
Oh,
Wolfpack.
yeah.
a wolf pack where if you get shot, you get strained and get a lock. I think that's about the only other way. Coordinate, I guess.
Yeah. So you could also do, I was just talking it down earlier, but you could also do Shakti Sak to give that end round coordinate.
Remember that the end phase coordinate does, if you're going to use it, is going to be best used on locks and repositions, because the end phase trigger does not happen after you would clear your green tokens, if you're using SOC or Siege Coruscant Shakti, use the end phase coordinate. Don't plan on that being evades or focuses, because those will be wiped away anyway during that end phase.
Yeah, so Shakti customizable can carry those over, but Shakti, which is really good for green tokens, but Shakti Sak is good for keeping locks going into the next round. And it's a point cheaper, so I don't know. Ada at 4 points is pretty great, and a Naboo at 4 points is pretty great, especially one that has 16 loadout like that. And the last one I had to throw in, the two last pilots that we got in the Hotshots and Aces, was a clone list. The clone brigade here have Sicko in that LAT, the new pilot for the LAT, able to do some crazy maneuvers. I would say sickening maneuvers, really, out there doing side slips or K-turns and a lat. That is pretty spicy, but has a pretty limited loadout at 12. So I decided to go for, Will mentioned earlier, I have Wolfpack in this one, because I do have quite a few low initiatives here. I also took 5s to give Sicko some pseudo actions after he's doing those maybe K-turns or those strained maneuvers. And then also has Commander Cody to throw some strains out there to see if I can make them. He is shooting second to last in this list, so Cody isn't super helpful. But forcing your opponent into a green or a blue maneuver is pretty, could give you some information there. And to round it out, just some synchronized consoles. And the other new pilot we have here is Slammer in that V19 Torrent. I chose to go for a Debris Gambit, and synchronized console, just to do some like 3 straight barrel roll into white evade. But I'm not sure on Slammer, and I just filled the rest of the list out with some fun clones there. Has anyone else had any ideas or luck with Sicko or Slammer?
Sicko looks.
I really wish Slammer had 8-point loadout. Like, you're in a weird spot of not being able to take barrage rockets.
Mm-hmm.
I think I really like Slammer with elusive, but then I just can't figure out what missile I want to put on him. Sicko, I've had a similar loadout to Hawk before, where it's 7th Fleet Gunner, Agile Gunner, and Dedicated. You do have to note, though, when Sicko does his sickening maneuver side slip, he does get strained, so that strain would have to get knocked off by someone shooting you if you want to dedicate someone. So, not that you can't take Dedicated on him, but you have to be aware of that.
Yep. Yeah, I did reach for that Dedicated at first, just because he is going to have those side arcs on target pretty often to help out his friends. But yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a non-bow with that sickening maneuver side slip.
All right, well let's keep it rolling here. So we went through the excuse me, the Republic. Let's go ahead and let's hit Scum and Villainy. Scum is the ones that I took a look at as a team. As I've been very forward with the new baby, I have been unable to play. So for me, it's more theoretical and just kind of starting to think through these pilots. I do have a couple of specific lists, but they're not tried and true quite yet. So we had Tor Fun in the Fang Fighter. If you're not familiar with that, it's going to be a 4-point Fang Fighter that gives you the possibility of performing a bonus attack, which at 4 points and being the cheapest Fang, I think it has a chance to be usable. Honestly, one of the issues with our 3 and 4 point pieces is that right now in Scum, the pieces that I seem to be really good, and the issue I was running into when doing list building is that spot a lot of times ended up getting filled by Kanan and the Hawk, and I couldn't justify not having Kanan and putting in any of these other cheaper ships. It was really hard to do that unless I was actively, deliberately removing him from there. So right now at 4 points, if you have the space and it makes sense, Tor Fun could be a possibility. Staying at range 1 and to be able to be a little bit more defensive, and at 4 points is a little less risky with taking a Fang Fighter. Then I want to jump to Hondo, and I think Hondo has some interesting possibilities here. I want to go ahead and pull up a list that I was messing around with. But one of the problems I came across with Hondo, if you're not familiar with him, he is let me go ahead and pull up his stats right here. Hondo, a 7-point fire spray, initiative 1, and the ability as an action, choose 2 non-huge ships at range 0 to 3 that are not friendly to each other. Essentially, pick one of your ships and pick one of your enemy ships. They just clarified it for epic play. But each chosen ship may perform an action that is on your action bar, even while stressed in the order of your choice, and then gain 1 calculate token. Hondo, when I look at it, it has an ability that's a bit more support-oriented and disruption-oriented. It feels like a support ship, but you're paying like main piece money for it at 7 points. So it has to perform as a fire spray. So I went at first, at least, looking at building it out as you would a normal fire spray. It has a total of 18 loadout. I didn't finish loading it out, but I grabbed a force user. I got contraband cybernetics and veteran tail gunner. Kind of the basic pieces that a lot of fire sprays have, and kind of you have 3 points to play with. Put what you think might be good there. I probably would end up leaning towards a bomb. I think at 3 points you can probably go ahead and grab seismic charges right there. Then because this ability is more what's the word I'm looking for? More support based. I was trying to figure out, like, okay, could you build a list where you had 4 pieces that could possibly benefit from the ability? Because I feel like with Hondo's ability, the more flexibility you have, the better it could end up being. When you have multiple ships that could take advantage of that action in a clutch spot. So the cheapest thing that could throw 3 dice in Scum are M3As with ion cannon. You could end up grabbing Sarasu as well to be able to grab a heavy laser cannon. I didn't exactly build them out, but the idea there of trying to get 4 cheaper ships to go with Hondo might end up working. If you don't want to be on as big of a budget, you could end up taking some higher, more expensive pieces, and I think this is one that I would consider actually running. You go ahead, grab Hondo the same way, take those seismic charges, and here we could actually fit a Turfon, Dirge, and a Manaru. We'll talk about Dirge here in a little bit, but some type of 4-4-5 there. But again, you might consider putting in a Kanan rather than Torfun or Dirge, because again, Kanan is one of the best pieces in Scum right now when it comes to support ships. But maybe since you have Hondo out there doing a support role, maybe you don't need Kanan. I don't know. My heart says that's not true. But again, we're trying to experiment, trying to find those corners where things could possibly work. So those are my thoughts on Hondo right now, where I would start exploring. The next pilot I want to go ahead and talk about is Lapin. Lapin is a 3-point modified TIE element, and honestly, it's the best 3-point TIE fighter. Has an ability that can go off most games, where you get that you stop your. I'm going to make sure I say it right. I don't want to mess this up. Let me just go ahead and pull it up here. Lapin. While you defend, nope, that's the wrong thing right here. Lapin, while you defend or perform an attack, if the enemy ship is stressed, that ship's dice cannot be modified. So stopping those modifications seems just like, for a TIE fighter, less opportunity for your opponents to modify their dice. If you're trying to either defend with your 3 agility or attack with your 2 attack dice, that seems pretty solid. It seems like good filler at 3 points. If you need it. Now, the one that is the weirdest out of them all, I want to take a second. I want your guys' opinion, is Dirge. I know there's some people kind of struggling to understand how the ability works, but essentially what you're doing is you're checking to see how many hits or crits are left over after defending. After you roll those defense dice and spend all the tokens, look at how many shields it is you have. And if those hits and crits are more than the shields, you can cancel 1 hit and change one of the hits to a crit. And I think does it make Dirge more durable? Yes. Yes, it does make Dirge more durable. It's the cheapest rogue at 4 points. And one of the things you got to kind of look at is with the crit cards, because you're taking crits. The first 2 are free if you only end up taking 1 crit, because it ends up bouncing off all the shields. The first crit ends up being free, and then after that you have your hull exposed, right? You got 5 hull. You got to understand the risks that you're taking. You have, of course, direct hits, fuel leaks, console fires, and loose stabilizers that have the possibility of doing double damage. But again, you would have taken 2 hits anyway, so it's worth the risk in a lot of sense. When I think about the cards that end up doing double damage, I think the ones that are more disruptive are in fact those that affect the usability of your ship. You've got panic pilot, blinded pilot, damage engine, those things that affect how your ship functions, I think could end up hurting you more. And there's going to be those situations where I think you're going to have to decide, do I use the ability here to take 1 less damage and risk taking those crits? Maybe hey, my other ships have already taken both of the panic pilots. It's not possible to end up pulling those. But I think Dirge has one of those really low floors, because the ability could end up being moot if you take a bunch of double damages. But it has a high ceiling in luck, because it could be absolutely ridiculous and end up mitigating a significant number of damage over time. You can end up mitigating essentially, I think, up to 1, 2, 5, 6 damage. You can end up mitigating with that ability, which seems super solid. And the last one we have here is Dr. Aphra in that YV666, and her being at 6 points. When you take a look at those other YV666, you got Latsrazi at 6 and the Slaver at 6. I think Dr. Aphra's ability is honestly not that hard to get off, and it has some very natural pieces that go on it. If you're not familiar with that ability, before you engage, you could spend 1 green token and 1 charge. She has 3, by the way, and if you do, you may choose another ship at range 0 to 1 that is not stressed. The chosen ship gains 1 stress. It goes real natural with BT1 and 000. After that, you have to kind of build it to choice. I was thinking a little bit more offense, so I was thinking maybe Zamweso, even though she's 11 points, could end up being some value here. Ends up being stuck at 21 of the 22 loadout, so I'm not entirely sure how to break that down, but that's just initial thoughts. When I think about stress, the first thing I think about is Kashka Frost in a fire spray and building that out. A lot of people talk about Kashka as being a mini boba, so it could be a good combination with Dr. Aphra, especially if you choose those stress moments very you got to be very picky about it, especially the fact that both Dr. Aphra and Kashka Frost are initiative 3, so you can end up engaging with Dr. Aphra, use the ability because it happens in engagement, and then use Kashka's ability at initiative 3 as well to be able to throw additional dice at stressed ships. Also, of course, just being able to have that flexibility, absolutely awesome. Also at Initiative 3, Kane and Jarrus. I mean, it's just kind of a natural fit, I think, to be able to defend Dr. Aphra and Kashka. And then I had 3 points left over, and I think Lappin right there shows good flexibility with that 7 loadout that it has, significant number of loadout. Ion cannon and marksmanship means that ship does have a gun that matters, being able to stack up ion tokens, and marksmanship because, hey, salvage cargo is a thing, and you need to be able to generate crits. Yes.
I would like to make one adjustment to your list. Only one.
Please do.
Very small. I think you should take Marge Sable Closer on that.
Yes.
Oh, you're right.
On your mining guilds, always Sable Closure.
Hey, the 1 point left, give something a strain when you move through a rock that you can go through and encourage to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Strain a ship at range 1 to 2 in your arc.
Good point. Good point. I completely forgot about that.
Yeah, just handing out. So you're handing out ions, strains, and stress in this list.
Yep.
Yeah, you can hand out 2 stress a turn with 000 and Aphra.
Mm-hmm.
Two different targets.
2 different ships, yeah.
Right.
Because it is well, at least Aphra's ability is when an opposing ship is not stressed. But
Not
000,
stressed. Yeah, 000.
but it's more likely
Yeah,
they're just
DM,
going to
dude.
calculate though.
Yeah, did you should talk about that combination because 000 is almost like I think required for Aphra.
Yeah.
Staple
Yes.
into Aphra, yeah.
Absolutely.
It is really thematic and cool that 000 and BT1 work really well with Aphra because they are her droids. So, I mean, in the way that like she helped them, they're their own things, but in the comics. But
So that interaction is, remember that it says Dr. Aphra has to spend a green token to give the ship a stress.
Right.
But 000 asks your opponent, would you like a stress or would you like me to have it calculate? And if they choose you to calculate, you say, well, I'm burning an Aphra charge and you're getting the stress anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, you could use that reinforce. So you take a reinforce action, and then you're shooting at initiative 3, so you can just burn that reinforce.
That's true. Another big point is that it is before you engage. You're talking about her engaging before Kashka.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think the reinforce is really cool. To burn the reinforce to give a stress, and then ask them, do you want another stress, or do you want to give me a calculate so I can shoot you?
Yep, dealer's choice there. So yeah, I think out of all of the Hotshots and Aces 2 pilots that we did end up getting, the one that I think has the most legs is probably Dr. Aphra. Like it just seems interesting to be able to have some type of debuff effects. We haven't had a lot of things that be able to dish out stress, so I think that has a possible path. But of course, looking at Lappin at 3 points, that seems like probably the thing that ends up being played the most, just because it's cheap.
So I would just say for the, I think Hondo has a lot more legs than people probably giving it credit for. Or it'll have a lot of things. And then something else that you can do with Hondo that we haven't talked about is just adding more actions to the action bar. Mandalorian is a good way to turn that red reinforced, make it white. So that way you can, at initiative 1, give a white reinforced to one of your friendlies. Of course, you're making that option for your enemies as well. But, you choose who and where and when. And then also by adding something like Andrasta, you can add the reload action to somebody. Or you give somebody the reload action, so you give additional
people like
options.
Fangs or your M3 Ace reloading brackets on Sirasu, proton torpedoes on Sirasu without having to do the whole cutthroat thing.
So here's my question, though. Here's my question. At 7 points for Hondo, the reason I didn't go down that path is it seems like for 7 points, you load it up. It's like, oh, look, I'm going to get all these wide actions. That leaves you with 13 points that need to win you the game at that point.
Yeah, I mean, you call him a support piece. I would say he's the main piece of any list you put him in. But it doesn't have to be technically a support ship. Once you start coordinating his action, you can get into some real interesting situations, because if you are coordinating Hondo, he's getting a calculate, and another of your friendly ships is getting an action as well. An action they wouldn't normally have.
I'm actually going to help you out a little bit here. You don't need to take Mando crew to make the reinforced white for your friend.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I was in a discussion with someone recently, and with some people who are normally judges in events, that asked, when someone uses the reinforce or does the reinforce action from Hondo's action bar, do you treat it as red? They thought so. That's actually no, because it's an action on your action bar, not versus from your action bar. So it's just saying to do the action that's there. So I mean, we'll probably need some further, as foolproof clarification as possible. But it might be white already for everyone else.
I'm pretty sure.
Then that's the one thing. But I would doubt it. But because the action on your action bar is a red reinforce. That is the action on your action bar. It's a red reinforce.
We'll have to wait and see.
I mean, yeah, it could go either way, in my opinion. What is the other actions you can get? You said white reinforce.
White reinforce, calculate.
Add. Calculate, coordinate. There's slam from burnout thrusters as well. Yeah. You could be giving slam actions without using his burnout thruster charge. And there's one other one that I forget
remember,
now.
Though, slam actions can only happen in the activation phase of that ship.
Yes, you would need you need to coordinate Hondo and then have that coordinate come back to you to slam. But you can. Think about Gamat Key out there coordinating and then slamming away.
Well, you can use a Hondo action on yourself, right?
You certainly can.
Yeah,
but
so
we're asking about, you could just calculate and slam.
Yeah.
But I think you use your burnout thruster charge in that one. So it's not really that. What else did I miss? We said coordinate, calculate.
Basically, coordinate, calculate,
reload.
White reinforce, if it's not already a reinforce, that's white. And reload. And reload on...
Reload. Fen Rao, shoot a couple advanced proton torpedoes.
A couple 6-side torpedoes, yeah.
Because remember, Hondo's...
torpedo, get out.
Hondo's while stressed as well. Mm-hmm. So if people doing linked actions out there, you can still be feeding them actions.
That would be pretty spicy to, Finneran needs to take a turn off, and while he's doing that, he gets a reload on his advanced proton.
Yep. Or he just doesn't take a turn off. That's the other thing.
You have your disarm.
You have the disarm. Unless you're flying there with, what's that?
You should.
You
should. You should. There you go. You should meta coming up.
Yeah.
But you could be doing advanced proton torpedoes on a Y-wing. If you want, what did you say, 13 points? That's a couple Y-wings. Mm-hmm. It's 3 Y-wings. Interesting.
It could be that Scum Y-wing that's pretty decent. The newer one out of the...
what are you talking? Levan? 4-point Levan?
I think so.
Lima
Kai.
Lima Kai.
Yeah. Could be some options there.
I don't believe. All right, let's move on.
Fair. Maybe reloading. You don't got time to be reloading.
Alrighty, so let's excuse me. Let's keep it going. Marcel, are you ready? All right, let's toss it over to Marcel, who's going to be taking a look at the Rebel Scum.
All right, and the first link that I just have the 5 ships. So if you want to open that one up, and that's is that loaded? Okay, yeah. So it's just if I'm flying them not in a specific list, just in general, I just put the loadouts that I thought I would personally like the best. So Pops Krail, his ability is a great ability. So Pops I have as great ability. I think he's at 4 points a better support ship than Dutch. He's easier to trigger. Plus, the focus is more. I'm not going to say more helpful, but it gives you more options because then it allows you whatever ship's getting that focus to either target lock or reposition or do something, and still be modded. So it's a lot more versatile as well. I like him with expert handling because he wants to do white maneuvers. He doesn't want to stress himself, basically. Ion cannon and ion torpedoes, so just giving him a lot of control. Seismic charges to basically ionize someone and then drop a bomb on them. And watchful astromech, so that if you need to rotate that ion cannon turret, you can still rotate it and have a mod and give someone else a focus token at the same time. Then we have Keo Venzi. Keo's ability is puppy. Keo's ability is if you have no active force charges after you reveal a bank maneuver or a turn maneuver, you may increase the difficulty of that maneuver. If you do, perform that maneuver as side slip to recover the force. You don't have to complete the side slip to recover the force. Even if you bump, you still recover the force. So that is just in itself a great ability. He is only 3 points. So that is an A-wing with 8 loadout and the force at just 3 points. So that's probably becomes the best 3-point ship in the Rebels. Maybe one of the best 3-point ships in the game, period. I like him loaded out with crack shot and concussion missiles. I think missiles are very easy on him because he's got a soft mod, so it makes it easy for him to move, target lock, and have a soft mod, and then be able to side slip after that to recover that soft mod the next turn. And then Taiko Selchu. That's I think a lot of people, myself included, have been trying to get that one back in the game for a long time, or hoping it gets back in the game for a long time. Another ship that I think at that 4-point slot, becomes the best solo ship out there. I think there's probably a couple support ships that you can slot in there that also work real well. Pops being one of them, and then also some of the
Garvin boy.
Nah, I don't like Garvin. Some of the ones that come with the VCX, I forget. The shuttles, like AP5 and Fenrir. Sheathpedes, there you go. Taiko, while you have 2 or fewer stress tokens, you may perform an action even while stressed. Now, one of the things that people have noticed already is that while you have while you move, and if you connect it with vector thrusters, after you perform an action, you may perform a red boost action. What that opens up is if you use Composure, that opens up the ability to take a non-green token initial action and then fail your boost purposely in order to get a focus token. Normally, you can't do that because the composure is a focus action, but since he can take actions while stressed, then it gets back on the table, which means he can target lock and then fail the boost to get the focus token. So he can double mod his. I like him with concussion missiles and ion cannon. So either you pick which one makes more sense at that given time, but you can double mod it, or you can single mod it and use the focus for defense. Or what you can also do is be able to, now you can become basically an interceptor. You can barrel roll, fail the boost, and basically barrel focus. So now you can just boost focus, target lock, fail the boost, focus, or barrel roll, fail the boost, focus. So you can basically add new linked actions to yourself.
I do want to point out, sorry to break your heart here. Composure says if you do, you cannot perform additional actions this round.
Nothing that I said.
Yeah, nothing else. Yeah.
Fail the barrel roll into a boost would.
No.
You
You don't fail the barrel roll. You
boosting,
complete the barrel roll, and then you fail the boost.
Yeah.
Because the A-wings
so you still
can't-
barrel roll boost, you just don't
because-
do the boost. You trade it in for the focus.
Yeah, because one of the things that keeps the A-wings not being as good as the interceptor is that they can't focus barrel roll, but it allows him to barrel roll. And still have that
Jake.
focus.
Yeah.
Jake.
Well, yeah. It basically just it's
Well,
a
you know
better
what
way
I
to
mean.
think. A better way to think about
But
it
yes,
is
this sounds like an I5 Jake who just happens to be stressed all the time.
Yeah.
Is that
Well,
what
the
you're?
difference is that Jake can't double mod his own shots. Jake can't target lock focus.
That's fair. What did you think, James?
He just had Tycho just has linked red focus to all his actions.
If he can set himself up
Yeah,
to fail
To
the
fail
boost.
it.
Yeah.
Which I've played it like 3 or 4 times already, and there's been a couple times where I got this, and then next thing you know, I'm boosted, and like I got no shots. I'm like, hey, no, I'm facing nobody. But if you're good enough to be able to line that up,
You just follow another A-wing around.
yeah,
Now-
you follow another ship around. Or
Now I want to
just
challenge
fly close to
you
the rocks.
a little bit here, though. So you said to fight you on Tycho being the best 4 points in Rebels. Things that are 4 points in Rebels include. So you had mentioned Dutch. I would agree. So you're saying Jake.
No, I think Pops is better than Dutch. So if you're going to do a wide wing, Pops.
Pops, okay. You got Colby, Sperato, and an X. You got 3 X-wings: Adriel, Colby, Leva, and you would rather have this A-wing
Tycho
than an X-wing.
over all of them, yes.
All right.
Because
You also have Garvin and Jack in the X-wings from Yavin, and I also agree. I would probably still take Tycho over them too.
Yeah, because he has a 3-die gun facing forward, either a concussion missile double modded or an ion cannon double modded most of the time. And he's not limited by even things like I played against the Death Troopers, and I was like, ha, Death Troopers, that's nice. So I do think he's better.
So you're
than those.
saying
Now,
I just want to
if you're looking
clarify
for a
though.
support piece, I think 4 points can be better as a support piece, but then it's playing a different role. But as a ship that's kind of a standalone ship, I think that's the best 4 points. Adding that high 5.
I just want to clarify though that like, how are you ranking non-composure Tycho? Is he still at the top then?
No, if you're not putting composure on there, you're
calling people scrubs. You calling people scrubs. They don't put composure on there.
At one point, it's why would you not?
I mean, you
Is it-
still
is
get
it-
a
well,
lose.
does it get banned?
It's specifically because he's abusing it is the reason
Yeah,
why.
it's because composure is going to get
composure
banned
is
with
so
this.
good. It's because he can abuse composure.
Which is the only people that have ever used composure.
A la
Is it-
Snap Wexley a long time ago.
Yeah, that's why they originally fixed it. No more actions.
Yeah, I mean, if they get rid of that, then Tycho gets bumped on. I mean, yeah, he is really good because of that one gimmick, if you want to call it. But I mean, still having actions while your stress is good. Anyway, moving on to Cornhorn. Comes in at 5 points with 18 loadout, initiative 5, after you declare the defender of an attack, if you have a lock on the defender, a friendly ship may transfer their lock onto their lock token from you to the defender. So basically, he does kind of a Dutch type effect, but when he's shooting at initiative 5, which means he's probably going to be shooting first in most of your lists. And it's a good ship, but I think he really needs a coordinator to be fully effective. I think having Pops next to him is probably a good Pops or something like Hera or Ahsoka, just some way to get that token over to Corran Horn, so he can use his ability without being too exposed. I like him with R3 astromech, so you can get double locks. Elusive, just extra little bit defense, and proton torpedoes, because proton torpedoes are good. And then Wes Jansen, I think that was I was higher on him before than I am now after trying it a little bit.
Why has Wes fallen out of your favor?
Well, I'll say why. After you perform an attack, you may spend a charge to assign the defender a jam token. After you defend, you may spend a charge to assign the attacker a jam token. It comes with 15 points. I personally like them with crackshot and proton torpedoes, but 15 points on that ship, you can load it out many different ways. Shield upgrade. Just you don't need a torpedo on them. You can just, because mostly you're just trying to shoot, so you can put something like shield upgrade, crackshot, and a good astromech. One of the reasons why I'm not a huge fan of him is because he does have the potential to be meaningless. Most of his shots are. Most people, when they're shooting him, they're like, "Well, okay, I'll just spend my focus, or I'll just take the naturally want to defend with the focus and stuff like that." So that's one of the bad things about it, I think. One of the good things is that it's an initiative 5, so it's doing that jam action. It's really good against something like a decimator or something that wants to reinforce. It shoots first, knocks that jam token off. That's very good for the rest of your list.
So can I ask you a question? I when I think about Wes's ability, I kind of equate it a little bit to what's that gunner Hotshot? Yes. I kind of think about it that way, where it's like, yeah, you would have done it anyway, but I made it so that you didn't have a choice. And that's the I look at that being the power.
Yeah, because you can
pop a reinforce and
Locks, yeah, that's what I'm trying to hit with those locks.
For that lock
or the jams
in a second. So, but I do think he's a really good pilot. I just think at 5 points, you really have to have a good way of him being part of the squad. He does not work well at all with Corran Horn. So if you're flying Corran Horn and West together, not a really good combo, because West wants to shoot first, but then Corran Horn needs to shoot first to pass the target lock over to West. So their abilities don't synchronize because they both want to shoot first. So that's one of the things
for defensive tokens. If you are doing like locks or
like an alpha strike, yeah, if you want to. Yeah, because if Corran Horn shoots first, gives the target lock over to West, and then West shoots. But by then, the defender already had 2 opportunities to use their modifier. Mm-hmm. All right. Anyway, so these are the ships. Let's do a couple of the lists that I put together. So just the first one. I'm not saying it's a great list, but it's just 4 ships. All 5 ships come in at 21 points, so you can't use all 5 ships. So I was thinking, how would I fly all 4 ships in a list? And actually talking about Colby, I would basically just replace West and Colby, mainly because, again, Corran Horn and Wes Jansen don't play well together. So that would be Pops the same way I had them, basically just coordinating the focus to Corran Horn. Keo and Tycho are self-sustained, so they can basically double mod their shots independently. They don't need any support. And then Colby, with Notorious and then also just putting a target lock on Cornhorn early, he would be able to double mod his shot. So that's a really good way. Another way as well, by the way, is Pops can also target lock Corn, so it gives you the choice based on how your ships are positioned to take your lower initiative ships and see which one has the better use of that double modded shot, because Pops is probably going to move, coordinate a focus, take a focus himself, and then because he's initiative 3, then when the other ships come closer together, then it allows you to kind of pick which one of those 2 ships can get the most use out of that target lock. 5-ship list. I think all 5 ships are relatively hard to kill. 2 X-Wings. Colby, you don't want to shoot at with Notorious. Cornhorn will probably be double modded. And with that elusive, it kind of helps them out a little bit. And then Tycho and Keo are your A-Wings. And of course, A-Wings can be tough to kill. And Pops is maybe the best opportunity to kill, but he's also the one that's doing the least damage. So if they're spending time killing a 8 health Y-Wing, you probably don't mind so much, because they spent a lot. They're shooting the things that are the least, causing the least amount of damage. And
I'm curious
Pops,
as to why your Pops doesn't take proton torpedo though.
Oh, it
Dorsal
could.
proton torpedo and expert handling. That's how I've built my Pops. Not saying yours. That was interesting that he has quite a bit to be able to take pro torps and more stuff.
Oh, you're not wrong. I mean, expert handling, ion. Basically, I would do expert handling, not ion, expert dorsal turret and proton torpedoes. So that is an option. I like the control with the ions, just because it allows the rest of your ships to basically put a say, hey, you're gonna die next, and just kind of put a target on somebody and kill them. So that's one list I put together using most of the ships that were from the pack, West Jensen not included. Let me see if the West Jensen list is one that I want you to look at. Nah, let's skip that one. That's just something that's not what we're talking about.
So can Keo just infinitely sideslip?
No.
Why not?
Well, yes. If he's spending the force every turn, then yes.
Yeah, if you roll it, you spend the force on a dice roll.
Yeah.
And then you don't have it, and then you dial in a hard 2, which would be reduced down to white, and you side slip. And then you spend your force, because you would just get it back again for combat. And then you spend your force. Probably taking locks and shooting missiles. And then you can keep, as long as you can keep spending that force on dice rolls, you can keep doing that hard 2 slip.
So you could just
Well, it doesn't have to be a hard 2 slip, because you don't have to stress
you want
yourself.
it to be blue.
Well, if you like actions.
Yeah.
If you don't like actions.
Yeah.
Man, he's like, man.
As long as you're not stressing yourself, you could keep doing it. But at the same time, the fact that Keo has that May, right? A lot of side slip stuff is a must. She is a May, so she gets to choose if she wants to do it or not. Granted, her doing it gets her force back, so you are incentivized to do it.
Yeah, and I will say, as I've flown Slider a lot, and he also has the same trigger of May, and it is pretty neat to just be like, well, that didn't work out. I'm just gonna go the other way now.
Granted, Keo is I3 and Slider is I4, I believe. So, and there's a lot of stuff at I4 and above. So Keo's probably gonna make that decision before seeing a lot of other things happen. But having it being in May is still better than must.
And that does add a lot of if somebody wanted to go with concussion with cluster missiles over concussions, that being able to stay behind and stay in range as people get closer, I think is also just something to consider. Cluster missiles may not be so bad on Keo because of that side sloop.
I like to consider just juke on her, because then you're just an Inquisitor with evade force, and you're really good at being like, okay, you shoot later, a lot of stuff and things have shot, and if you take her with a list like West Jensen, that's actually a pretty good combo effect, is later on it's going to help Keo. She can take advantage of okay, if you're going to come and shoot me, I'm 3 agility, force evade. that's not a good shot for a lot of stuff.
3
So
points.
she can be an objective person very well and
Yeah, that's a
be
good point.
defensive, but then when she's not shot at and doesn't have to spend that evade, single force modded juke 2-die shot, sometimes range 1.
I do have a question for you guys. An overall consensus is the turret, the vectored cannons, worth it on Tycho or this side slipping ship?
Until they ban
On
composure.
Tycho?
Until they ban composure, I don't think the thrusters are better.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could always rotate. You could always boost with Tycho in the system phase. You'd never be restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's maybe after composure is out, but with composure you don't want to.
So
It's
what
not
about?
if, it's when.
Okay, well, okay. So right now, if you're not flying composure, it's a bit silly. But what if you're just flying Keo though? I can't even imagine a rear arc side slip shooting ship. Does that have any value, or is that auto thrusters linked action too good to pass up?
Well, the problem with that is that the side slip, the vectored thrusters is a red maneuver, so that limits your hard turns because it turns your hard turns white or red. So
You just keep it in the back
You can't system phase stuff and slip.
and still get an
Correct.
action.
Well, unless
and
you
still-
don't
and still
care about
get
your
an action.
action.
Yeah.
I think the big thing with side slip is when you side slip, you're still pointing and facing your forward arc at the general same location, though. So having a rear arc on Keo, I don't think gains you much value versus just utilizing the side slip to keep your forward arc where you want it to be pointing.
Does Cassian maybe work well with Keo? But you're putting a lot of money into Keo if you do
Yeah, I
that.
don't know if I'm
Cassian's at the
taking a
start
whole
of
U-wing just to
activation.
help someone with vector cannons.
Cassian's before system phase.
All right. So I just want to go over 2 lists real quick. One of them is the A-Wings one, because that's just one that I have been flying. That's the one that I've been flying most often. And that is the Battle of Yavin Han Solo. Luke Skywalker, build Luke Skywalker to however you like him. I like the 6-die attack on Luke Skywalker, but you can use this Luke Skywalker, the Battle of Yavin Skywalker, or build them however you like. The self-contained Tycho and Keo. He uses 3 ships that are from a newer kit. So if you want to play with new stuff, but it works really well because of Han's ability to coordinate. It just makes the it just adds a lot of options because you can coordinate these ships to, I've for example, I've used especially with trick shot, shatter shot, is I've kind of parked Luke Skywalker not in front of a rock, and then you just used it to barrel roll him into that 6-die attack. Or I've also used the rigged cargo chute. Works really well because you move with Luke, you do a regular torpedo, and then Han Solo moves and drops that rigged cargo chute right in the middle of it, and that way you're forcing, with them not expecting it, you're forcing the 6-die attack. So I really like the shattering shot, trick shot, and the rigged cargo chute or Han Solo. The combination, it works out really well. And again, Tycho and Keo are just really well. They're just really, all of these ships, and I built this list mostly as a anti-tyranny list. I said I want 4 ships that can, if you put their ability, or if you get rid of their friendly allied ability, what's something that I can not care about that, and they can all just kind of fly on their own. They're self-sustained. They don't need anybody else. They're just going to go do their own thing and be effective.
Have you
It's
found
been really well? And Han Solo actually is probably one of my favorite ships.
have you
at the
found
moment,
with
Han
this Battle
What
of
do you guys think of
Yavin?
this one? Just real quick.
Have you found with the
I
Battle
really
of
like Boy Han. Really good with that Chewbacca. Being able to get rerolls and coordinates. Man, the ship just does it all. except for boost and have mods. Then, well, I guess
Well, you can still boost and have mods. You can still use the
Yeah,
reroll.
you got limited rerolls.
You get a reroll.
Yeah, Han's on a time ticker. He's trying to be impactful early, which is where you're going to be shooting these missiles and stuff anyway. So, yeah, I mean, you're slowly convincing me on this. Composer Tycho.
And the rig shoot, shatter shot, trick shot works out.
I've
well.
done the thing we don't talk about anymore with shatter and shot Luke before, and it was nasty.
So,
yeah.
quick question,
The
Marcel.
one of the show was the I-7 Alpha Strike. I just thought it was funny.
If this is swarm tactics, heightened perception.
No, it is not swarm
Ivan.
tactics. Go ahead and open that up, Dion, if you don't mind.
Can you guys hear me?
7 Alpha.
Can you hear me or no?
I like Man Han Solo more. Has
It
more
doesn't seem
options.
like they can hear me.
Yeah.
Can you guys not hear me?
Dion, if you're muted to us, if you're
I'm
talking
not.
to us. And
I5 or I7?
7?
5 or 7?
I-7, yes.
Oh, the chat can hear you, but we can't.
Yeah, that's weird.
Very interesting.
All right, so this one, I just thought it was fun. Wes Jensen with a proton torpedo wants to be double modded. I left 3 points out. You can put 3 points, whatever, crack shot or R4 or something. So I have Rourke, who can turn somebody in their arc initiative 7 with elusive seismic charges, Moldy Crow engine upgrade to keep the stress away, and Leia. Leia comes in a particular list, just not be. Now I heard you, Dion. Yeah. Yeah, now I can hear you. All right. So Leia comes in really handy in this particular list, mostly for pops, because it allows pops to basically do red maneuvers and turn them into white and still be able to get the free focuses off red maneuvers as well, and just basically not stress himself so he can have his ability more often. So I have the same, so a couple seismic charges, the same pops with expert handling ion, watch full astromech, ion torpedoes, and seismic charges. Wes Jansen with just proton torpedoes, getting the focus from pops, and then getting turned to I-7. So that way you initiate Wes' ability at I-7. If you're playing against, for example, an X-1 Vader, you pop that target lock off at I-7. It comes in really handy against a lot of lists, and you're throwing a proton torpedo at I-7. So it's not a nothing shot. It's going to be a double-modded proton torpedo. And then Ahsoka has the potential to heightened perception herself into a double-modded concussion missile or a crack shot. One other thing that I have predictive shot on Ahsoka. One of the nice things about just this little combo is if you need to get a damage in and you have the bullseye, you can just spend a 4, say no matter what I roll, even if I only roll 1 hit, you cannot spend more than my hits, and then because it's a bullseye ability, that crack shot's going to be guaranteed to be in there. So the predictive shot crack shot combo basically just guarantees the damage when you need it. You're like, I need to put a damage. I don't care if you're cloaked at range 3 behind the gas cloud. I'm going to guarantee that 1 damage coming in no matter what. So you can do that at I-7, and you can also shoot your concussion missile at I-7. So essentially you're shooting a proton torpedo, jamming, and then following it up with an Ahsoka shot at I-7. And if you don't need to turn into I-7, then, there's still I-5. And Rourke just is, any ship with Moldy Crow, it's still double modding all their shots, and it's still pretty effective. And with Leia Organa on there, you can keep the pressure on because you don't have to do red maneuvers too often. So it just allows you to keep the pressure on and keep guns on target and keep initiative 7 guns on target. So I like I like this list in theory. I've never played it. I just put that together right now. I was trying to figure out a good way to get West to be better and be able to jam at a higher initiative.
All right, so that's the Rebels. Let's go ahead and toss it over to Staniszewski for some Separatist Alliance information.
All right, so I'm just going to do some quick notes per pilot, starting with Dirge. We talked about Dirge and Scum. The big difference between this Dirge and Scum Dirge is this Dirge gets access to the title, the Xanadu Blood. Now, in most of my builds with this, I haven't actually used the crew or bomb slot. I've kind of just stuck with, because he does still have only 10 points. He has the same loadout slots available as Scum Dirge. I've just kind of, for now, stuck with, all right, I have an I-5 rogue that has dead to rights. I'm going to lean into heavy laser cannon, and with the 6 points left, make sure I still have a 3-die attack with an ion cannon. Ion, heavy laser, call it good, 4 points, I-5. This Dirge, as a reminder to everyone, has a different ability than Scum Dirge, both meant to be extremely durable. This Dirge has 1 charge, not recurring. When you would be destroyed, you may spend 1 charge to reveal all of your face-down damage cards. If you do, discard each direct hit and each of your damage cards with the pilot trait, then repair all your face-up damage cards. Keep in mind that if someone overkills you, you still have to deal out all that damage that would be destroying you. So you still have to reveal all those face-ups, repair, and you could still be dead. Anyway, this is just kind of a chance to beat Tel Travera, but maybe even more than 1 hull left even by the end of it. So at 4 cost, I think it definitely find its way into some Separatist lists. I-5, 4 points. Both multiple ways to get a focus mod with a reposition for a dead to rights heavy laser cannon, which, if the meta develops that we have enough ships that are medium or large base, this Dirge can make their life terrible. After Dirge, we can move on to the other I-5 4-cost ship that we got, the Tri-Fighter Volandas. To note specifically, Volandas, like other Tri-Fighters that are customized, does not have access to the config slot to give it intercept boosters. Apparently, organics can't deal with the G-forces of the intercept booster speed. I'm going with that on a thematic level.
I like it.
But I was very surprised that it got illicit. I never knew who Volandas even was. I felt like a pretty made-up character, but I guess he's some type of maybe bounty hunter, because I think in the PDF he's clarified as a bounty hunter and can take tracking fob. At least Yasby lets me take tracking fob on him, although I still probably wouldn't at this point. I do like, you pretty much have 2 choices. It's the main upgrade to put on Volandas. Do you want to go shield upgrade plus some extra stuff? That's kind of more the easy pick. Or do you want to go Notorious, kind of synergize with his ability, being that after he fully executes a red maneuver, you may choose an enemy ship at range 1 that shows the ship gains a strain, and you may remove a stress. So you can dish out strain with his ability himself, let alone with the Notorious for his offensive rerolls. So you got some Wikipedia on the screen for Volandas.
Yeah, he shows up in Legends.
Oh, another Legends character making a return-ish.
Yeah.
Click on the Volandas ship below, and it'll show the ship.
Starship button?
No, there's a. If you scroll down.
How far?
Oh, it was. Sorry, I was looking at the other screen. Right, it should be right there. Scroll down a little bit more. A little bit more. Need a bit more.
I'm gonna click that one because I think that's
okay.
it.
Yeah, that one. Yeah. Yeah, there it is, right there. Pew.
It's a fancy, weird, different Tri-Fighter.
Looks like a quad fighter. I see. 1, 2, 3, 4.
It's got more than 3 wings, yeah.
I don't know.
It's definitely based off of a Tri-Fighter, though.
Yeah. So
It's been modified for organics. Come on.
It has been modified. Yeah, you need that extra wing.
I think this Tri-Fighter could definitely make some lists in Separatist too. I5 repositions and access to focus instead of calculate, so it could be very independent of himself. And you can either go defensive with a shield upgrade or a little more offensive / deterring defense with Notorious. You could also even say you have 12 points. You could go Afterburners so that when you do red maneuvers, you can trigger Afterburners to boost to get his ability trigger more. You're left with 2 points afterward, though, so talent slot, whatever you want to use for that. After that, I feel there's both those I label as those are good additions to the faction. After that, we get a little bit of a drop off. We'll go into the Vultures with the Iron Assembler. The one I prefer between the two different types of Vultures added in this pack. This is the I1 mechanic, I guess, of the droids, specifically strut droids, who can repair a friendly ship at range 0 to 1 if it skips its execute maneuver. Basically, if it's strutting, you can repair damage. He's got enough loadout to take. I actually kind of like the idea of taking energy shell charges, independent calc, and munitions failsafe. You get 2 mod slots. So you have the capability of, if my energy shell charge looks like it's a crap roll, we'll take it back. It's not bad, especially when most droids only get 1 of them. And then the other vulture we get is the Kelrodian AI holdout. I'm really sad we didn't get 8 points of loadout. I'd really like to just throw a procket on these guys for fun. They are, I believe, the only vulture to get a talent slot, though. Talent missile modification. I mean, elusive, right? Like, everyone loves elusive. I don't think it's not a joke to say sometimes that one single blank you get out of your 2 dice rolls tends to be a killing blank. So throwing elusive in there could definitely help out. Missile's really weird because, at least right now, without any sign of any erratas, this action bar is what it is. You get a base calculate and you barrel roll link red focus. Mm-hmm. So depending on the missile you take, like let's say if you take Discord missiles or energy shell charges, you cannot barrel roll and then link and use those because those require calculates. You're not double calculating with indie calc because you can't put it on the ship. So if you take a focus based one, you have to barrel roll link to even get the focus. It's a really weird situation that makes me really wonder which of the missiles work best on the ship. It's kind of thread tracers, I guess, because you can use calc or focus, but then you're not adding any damage to the ship. So neither here or there. It's not really high on my priority list because it's incentivizing you to take more of these guys because of their ability to transfer each of their locks and green tokens to another friendly AI Kelrodian holdout at range 0 to 3 when it dies. But my desire to take a lot of vultures or more than 2 has severely dipped with a lot of the stuff that's come out from Siege of Coruscant and the Hotshots and Aces, because there's a lot of really good 4-point Tri-Fighters I'd rather have, or 4-point Dirge I'd rather have than 2 vultures. So
fair.
The 4-cost slot in Separatist got a ton better. It was terrible before.
I was like, I think that's the first time I've ever heard Ryan say he would rather have any other ship besides 2 vultures.
Like, we're in a high offense, higher than 4 initiative feel right now, and if that's what I expect, those vultures are just dead meat every turn.
I'm living in a high octane world. I need to go fast.
The vultures are not equipped for this. So yeah, both vultures to me are meh, right? Like, maybe even the Kelrodian's more on the bad side. There might be something to it that I'm missing, but it seems like it's a weird state. Iron Assembler, I can see as the single vulture you put in a list, and just kind of be an annoying little guy in a rock, basically. Aura Singh is 8 points, same as Django. I saw that and I go, okay, maybe. Did she get a crew slot? No. Well, that's bad, because I would just take Django every day over Aura Singh, because sure, he has to use his crew slot to get force, but Aura doesn't get any more force than her base one, and Django's I6 and has more loadout. So every day of the week, I'm taking Django before Aura and I don't think I don't plan to take both, because I would rather have 2 Flak Arfak prototype tri-fighters from Siege of Coruscant than 1 Orasing.
Yeah, and then just kind of that's
or Dirge and Volan instead of Orasing.
and to
What's
go
the-
to go with
Oh,
your
go ahead.
comparison here real quick, Ryan. It's talking about that one force. You take you take Savage for instance for that one force point, and essentially you're paying a 1 point tax to get all the way to I6.
1 point loadout tax.
Right, loadout tax, correct. Not even
it.
yeah.
I'll pay that tax.
Yeah.
A lot.
But
So,
you have double cannon
high
slots. Come on.
high 6 plus the ability.
And,
I mean,
and you can take 2 illicits. Orasing only gets 1 illicit.
I mean, why not both? In a 4-point ship? You tell me 4 points really good. You just talked up how good 4-point Separatist ships are.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not taking.
Yeah, but I think it'd be better to have 1 Django and 3 4-point ships.
Fair.
So, on the basis right now, Dirge, Volan, good additions to Separatist. Iron Assembler, meh, okay. Calrodo, AI loadout, and Orasing, thumbs down.
Ooh, got the straight thumbs down.
Yep. Have fun with them if you want. I ain't gonna play them.
Maybe they have a spot in epic play, which I will say for some of these I think I wonder how this would go with more ships on the table, but that's not the world we're talking about right now.
So I made up 2 lists, kind of highlighting some of these ships. For the first one, it's the true first hodgepodge of Separatist list where there's a different ship. There's not one copy of any chassis, which is super weird for Separatists for me. Knowing that a lot of times I would take 2 vultures, or maybe a bunch of vultures and hyena, or even 2 of anything. All different ships. We got the Dooku from Siege of Coruscant. We got Dirge, ion cannon, heavy laser cannon, Xanadu Blood. We got General Grievous, outmaneuver and pervium plating Solus 1. And then we have a bombardment drone with prox mines, independent calc, landing struts. And then the Iron Assembler sticking nearby that bombardment drone with energy shell charges, munitions failsafe, and independent calculations. 5 ships, 5 different chassis. It's a great way to test out a lot of different stuff in Separatist too, and seeing what you like. Because you have all these different chassis, seeing how they feel. The only chassis that's not really represented in this list, which we'll get into my next list, is the Tri-Fighter that has a lot of new stuff and options to use at I-5. But I think, gotta have your Grievous, trying out Dooku, Dirge. 2 I-5 ships, and then Grievous still running around. I mean, it's not easy target priority there. And then just kind of a hyena lurking around there with a Proximine.
I'll do it. I swear I'll do it.
And then in the other list I have, I've actually been running variations of this. We start with General Grievous, outmaneuver and pervium plating Solus 1. Volan Das using the shield upgrade route. Shield upgrade, Predator, Deadman switch. Kill me, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to get in there close, do big damage with Predator in a focus. And then 2 of the Flak I-5 Siege of Coruscant Tri-Fighters, which have their standard loadout of Afterburners, Contingency Protocol, and Evasion Sequence 7. I cannot tell you how valuable that Evasion Sequence 7 is on these guys, since it triggers off of scenario features and obstacles that you could just barrel roll link to essentially a white evade as long as you have one of those things in range 1 of you. And at I-5, if you're lining up that bullseye, you're just calc evade. And with 2 of them next to each other, basically, whatever one you shoot at is going to have 2 calcs and an evade. I treat them very similar to how I've flown Mauler and Backstabber, just a duo running up a board edge and cutting their way in on a good flank, or even if they joust me straight up, I might take it. It's okay as long as they're in my bullseye. With their ability, soon tier calc, sure. And then round out 3 points was just 404 from Siege of Coruscant. Trying to see if I can make him as threatening looking 3-cost ship as possible, with the fact that if any of the flax die, 404 can action with contingency protocol, or when they kill 404, the tries can do the same thing too. It excites me to have a list where I'm excited and happy to play triple tri-fighter.
I'm spooked by that. They do not get any extra health. Is that right? That's why they stayed at 4 points.
At least for the flax, yes. Volandas can still add in a shield upgrade.
He's got the shield, yeah, but that's what I meant. The other ones gotta go fast.
No, that's the only thing I felt like I would just want these flax is like, why can't they be 4-hull like the TIE fighters?
Well, I mean, as you said, they get an evade every round, so that kind of feels like a shield upgrade.
Or if they're not getting shot, I mean, lock calc. It's, just set up. If you got the bullseye and it's already there, they can go really well offensively too.
All right, are we ready to move on to Imperials?
Yes, that's me.
All right.
I got that top link up there, which has all of the pilots, which conveniently does add up to 20. These guys come right out of the box as a list, though maybe not the best list.
Play it if you want to.
I mean, it does have a lot of pieces that I would not mind. So let's talk about the pilots, though. My main type. I don't know what gender these pilots are. I just see a name, and Magna sounds feminine to me, but I could be incorrect. Anyways, this TIE fighter pilot, Magna Tolvan, I3. While you have 2 or fewer stress tokens, you can perform white actions even while stressed. After you, and this is the main, that ability, that's like Tycho. Nobody cares. Seen that, been there. This ability, though, after you gain a stress token, you may perform a white action if able. So, what's the best upgrade? We talked about it when we first previewed it. It's Squad Leader. While you adds red coordinate, after you coordinate, or while you coordinate, they can only do focus, evade, barrel roll. So no coordinating boosts, no coordinating reinforces, but hopefully that ship could just take that normally. So what this ends up being then is that you can coordinate and focus, or coordinate and evade, depending on if you're shooting red dice or not. Every single turn, you're limited to 2 banks, but to me, Magma has become the cheapest, best support ship for Empire. And she's got points for a heavy laser cannon. 3 points, always focusing, always coordinating, and can shoot a 4 dice attack. That's pretty powerful, in my opinion. Now, one of the people she could be coordinating, though, is Juno Eclipse. They do I5 TIE Advanced, X1. Juno can basically link any action into a red boost. So you can actually coordinate Juno early before her maneuver and give her barrel roll boost before she even does her move. You can give her obviously focus tokens and locks being the next one. Does all those locks. I'm not sure what her preferred build is because she's got that juicy tech slot. Could be going elusive and pattern analyzer. I went with fire control system and cluster missiles, just hoping that she would maybe get into the end game for me and go 2-on-1 if needed. No, a bargain, by the way, at 4 points for an I5X1 with a linked boost. Very powerful, in my opinion. And I love them paired together. X1 Vader, customizable, is 7 points. You could just split that right into a support tie and to Juno Eclipse. So let's talk about the rest of the new pilots here. Second Sister is a 2-force interceptor. She can spend those 2 force to change all of her hit results into crits. On theme here with the Inquisitors, except for Grand, who spends their force offensively here. They have The option of auto thrusters or not, I'm going to take auto thrusters, even though I talk up sensitive controls all the time. But in this build, it's, build. If you have a coordinator, you should always go auto thrusters. Because you'll never coordinate it if you're system phase boosting or barrel rolling or whatever. I guess you could match up initiatives. Anyways, I'm torn, on her loadout as well. Obviously, shield upgrade. Get your health. Stop being 3 agility or 3 hull.
Right.
And elusive and brilliant. Just strap in, like, you got force and white evade. You're in one of the most maneuverable ships in the game. Like, all she needs is defense, right? Just stay alive for as long as possible because she has 5 points. She does have a missile slot, so you could go like Pocket, Elusive Discipline, or something like that. You have limited options once you put that shield upgrade on her, though. And I think Brilliant Evasion's just, if you got 3 agility in the force, it's hard to not pass up. Anyways, we'll go on to the other TIE fighter, Erica?
It's just Erica.
It's just Erica?
It's Star Wars Erica.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Has the ability, as a note, 3 points, I3. After you fully execute a maneuver, you may acquire a lock on an enemy ship in your bullseye. Actually, a benefit at Initiative 3, because you know where people are, so you could just maneuver and line up the bullseye, whatever you need, like 3 bank or 2 bank or whatever it takes to get that. Has a missile and decent loadout. I put proton rocket and marksmanship. You certainly could go for cluster missiles, maybe some elusive combination there. Targeting computer, if you don't want to rely on her natural ability to acquire locks. Not a bad ship. I mean, the free locks, never a bad thing. Then we get to Flight Leader Ubel. And Ubel can essentially is a heavy quick draw. After a friendly ship range 0 to 2 defends, if it was dealt a damage card, you may perform a bonus attack against the attacker. So it's range 2 Dengar, but only for damage cards. It's going to work really good on the heavy because it's got 8 hull total. You're going to be real, and 1 agility. It's going to be real easy to take a damage card and then fire your bonus attack back. This is where I'm split all the time with these heavies. You could go targeting, assist, and synchronize laser because they have a nice calculate synergy between the two. I find myself range 1 all the time with these heavies. So I'm taking ion cannon and heavy laser, maneuver assist, agile gunner, and ion limiter override. That was kind of just thrown in because the heavies aren't really affected by it. Like a strain or an ion doesn't mean anything to them. So in this build, you can always be swiveling your ion cannon. You do have a 4 dice heavy laser if you can line it up. You do have that white barrel linked into calculate through the maneuver assist if you need to use that to line up your bullseye. But mostly just is trying to be like peppering attacks into combat. This isn't really a range 1 brawler, but like I said, this one's built out with maneuver assist to try to not be in combat. You certainly can do sync laser and trick shot and just grab a bunch of calculates and take locks. Keeping these things on the board while doing offensive like damage with them is tough because they're so split between the reinforce and not. Like if you reinforce, you can't do anything else. Very strange. So let's go on to that next list. This is a nice segue here because I'm actually using a lot of these pilots. We got Squad Leader Magna. I got Juno Eclipse. But this one swaps out the TIE Fighter and the Heavy. And I have Second Sister as well. But it swaps out the TIE and the Heavy for Countdown and Vizier. So I get another coordinator. and I get essentially another ace out there in Countdown. Someone who's more or less self-sufficient, and I don't have to worry about them. Just fly around, do stuff, Countdown. Don't die. Don't die in the first round, please. But I did want to bring up the coordinating Magma. I'm going to put the extra V in it every time.
Magna. Maybe just use Tolvin. Tolvin.
Coordinating Tolvin with Vizier is hilarious to me because Vizier moves first, coordinates Tolvan, a squad leader. And she says, here you go, take an action, Vizier. And then Vizier, or basically, Vizier says, I completed ailerons. We both get focuses. And then Magna can move and like take a different action as well. So basically balancing that coordinate around. Then obviously Palp as well. So Vizier's actually trying to keep Second Sister alive. Basically I have like 2 dedicated, a coordinator and an ace flying around together, and then Countdown off by themselves. The Second Sister, I mean, what is your guys' opinion of this ship? I mean, to me, it's a bargain at only 5 points. You're not paying 6 like for Iden or for Suntir, and you're getting 2 force. How does that stack up for you guys?
What else? Let's take
loadout.
Oh yeah, and 14 loadout.
Yeah, that's a crazy amount of loadout.
What else is at 5? You have Merrick. You have Gideon. You have other interceptors like Gideon and Sienna Ree. Not much else. Oh, you do have you have the other Inquisitors. You do have 5th and 7th out there as well. Reapers. I guess
There's not a
heavies.
lot at 5. I mean, you get you get Pure Sabak, not Pure Sabak. Duchess. I think everybody forgot Duchess.
Yeah, Duchess is out there.
Second Sister is better.
I mean, yeah, and all of those aces though, Sienna, Duchess, Merrick even though I love Merrick, but like as a single piece, I think I'm taking second every time.
Is Second Sister in the Interceptor better than Fifth Brother in the V1? That's I think the only.
Yes.
Well, Second Sister, I don't like the way.
I think the V1 can hold a heavy laser cannon, if I'm not mistaken, which is a 5 dice range, or that's a 5-hit range 3 attack, which is unlikely.
Second Sister
Unlikely.
has a 3-die attack.
Yeah, I don't like the way Will has Second Sister loaded out, because you can basically put
What you load up?
just shield upgrade and juke. She already has force, so you just need to evade force, juke, and shield
I think we can
upgrade.
all agree that shield upgrade on this thing, right?
Yeah,
Like, I'm
yeah.
not-
Shield
Okay.
and juke, and just take an evade and use your force for the offense, and just let it do its thing.
The only penalty about her in this style of list is that she doesn't shoot last. I was trying to get her into an all I4 list, and it's actually kind of tough.
There's
'cause I
a
need
ton. There's a ton.
I mean,
I-Force
it's-
TIE fighters.
You can easily swap out Countdown or Vizier and Magna. I know that Magna's part of this discussion, but for Mauler Backstabber, right there.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I sent you guys a list on my TIE fighter list on Discord.
Well, hold on. We're about to get to
just saying-
TIE fighters.
No, what I'm saying is you just take that 5 points. You take the 1 academy and any other 3-point ships, any other 3-point initiative 3 ships, and then you got a full.
Well, let's just pull it up and let's talk TIE Swarm then.
One real quick point. I don't know, maybe if I missed this. Did you potentially discuss the usage of passive sensors on Juno?
I did mention that. I'm not quite sure what her build should be. You're thinking passive sensors?
Yeah, passive sensors elusive. So basically, you use passive sensors, and when you would activate when you engage, you do a lock, and you could boost. With
Lock action boost. Okay. Really? So really, yeah. I mean, with
choose who
the
you're going after at that point when you have more
really,
information. Say if ships like Flight Leader Ubal or Mauler Backstabber shoot before Juno, and then Juno decides, all right, based upon what's done damage and what's dead, I could commit to X different thing.
so like an all I5 list. I
Mostly
think the
five or something.
mostly, yeah. I could see that, yeah, actually being pretty advantageous.
I was trying to see if there was other ships that wanted to use ordnance at Initiative 5, just so you can use targeting synchronizer with Juno, but
I looked at target and synchronized it too.
I don't see a lot of other
Without
ordnance
bombers
using I5,
or
yeah.
anti-aggressors or something. There's not a lot of munitions carriers in the faction as of now. All right, well let's talk TIE Swarm though. So I do have, now this is including 2 of the new ones for fun. I have Erica with clusters and targeting computer, and I have Magna with, of course. I mean, is there another build of other than squad leader and heavy laser cannon for this TIE fighter? Because to me, I don't think there is one. You guys trying to what, take target locks and
I mean, you
shoot
can
cluster
do
missiles?
tractor if you really want to get that 3-die spread.
Well, I guess, I mean, if you're in like a full 8 swarm, maybe. All right, anyways, and this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, Erica, Magna, Iden, of course, Gideon, in both flavors. I have Del Miko because of, well, let's actually talk ordnance here. Erica has clusters. Magma has a heavy laser cannon. Iden has clusters. Moff Gideon has the tracer. Gideon Hask has cluster missiles. Del Miko has an ion cannon. And then I have a black squadron in there as more or less a blocker, but also Gideon bait. Gideon and Ruthless bait, acting as a 2-point jingoist without an ability. That is a lot of 3-dice attacks, heavily modified 3-dice attacks as well. That is terrifying. If you let that tracer missile go off,
That's a bad day.
yes. Now this build, it is like weird to like coordinate Moff Gideon a focus lock, but it might actually be better to take the focus lock, like a targeting computer instead of Ruthless, because you have that squad leader out there. Or you could just focus evade your Moff Gideon and just make it so you keep that ability around as long as possible. Coordinating in a TIE swarm is a little weird, I'll be honest with you.
Not really. I mean, you take the one that wants to get killed the most and you give that one a focus evade.
Well, I mean, you do have Iden and Gideon Hask have targeting computers who would love to be fed a free action once in a while.
Yeah. And this is the one that I said, your list is not very much different than what I shared, so, but this is the one.
No. I'm putting Erica in there, but that's.
Yeah, what I'm saying, this is the one you would take Yurik or Erica, whatever you call it, and Black Squadron Ace, and then swap that out for that 7th Sister.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So that way you get a 6-ship list, and then you get the shield upgrade, Juke.
3, 4, 5, yeah.
And she can also take advantage of Moff Gideon's tracer round as well.
True, I4.
To double mod that Juke.
I mean, anyway. to be fair though, Marcel, which is why I didn't include it. You can in Empire. I think you can take a 5 or 6 point ship and just fill the rest of your list with TIE fighters, and I think you'd be in a good spot.
Yeah. And in that case, I would also put just as a caveat, I would also put the sensitive controls if you're flying with a bunch of TIE fighters because you need to get out of their way.
Yeah, that's
good point. Good point.
I will
like
say
that.
I prefer sensitive controls, unless you're Soontir or Kylo. I think I prefer it. All right, so I got one last list here, and then we can call it a day. And this is trying to not do TIE Swarm. This is purposely not TIE Swarm. This is heavies. So I got all the heavies out there. So this is actually rocking the other flight leader that I was talking about that has trick shot, sync to laser, agile, and target assist. So you're just trying to avoid combat by shooting long-range attacks, acting more like a fire spray than like a non-boba fire spray, if you will. Just trying to lurk, not trying to be range one. Then for fun, I added 2 other TIE heavies and an ace. But I did play around with this a lot of flight leader. You could do 2 Reapers at 4 points and X1 Vader. You actually have a lot of play. I was essentially, because flight leader needs hull, you need to bring a lot of hull, whether that's other heavies or a big TIE swarm with him. I mean, he's 5 points. He could go into that squad as well instead of 7 Sister and start laying out long-range synced laser attacks. Every time they hurt a TIE, he just gets a free attack. Not every time, obviously, once per round. But this is kind of, like I said, getting my mind, I don't know about 3 heavies, but getting my mind wrapped around it was like, what is a chunky, a beefy Imperial ship look like? You guys got any strong opinions on the heavies? I mean, Agile Gunner, they recently got the gunner slot. Agile Gunner has really helped out. But beyond that, I don't know what to do with them.
I think the only other thing I've thought about with Flight Leader Ubal is because he's I-5, you might have a play, depending on what it's in your list, with either Hotshot Gunner or Suppressive Gunner. What Suppressive Gunner can do is, because you're potentially shooting twice, you could spend your focus results, if you get any, and you can't mod them because you don't have a calc or you don't have a focus left over, and tell someone you either get a deplete or I get to do free damage. Which, if they're taking the deplete, that lessens the offense back at that same route or any of your other teammates. On the flip side, with Hotshot Gunner, for as much as we like the potential Juke 7th Sister, that's 2 shots potentially with bonus attack with Ubal to force green tokens to be spent and gone, and better for Juke to be pushed through from 2nd Sister. I'm not sold on them, but I think it's worth exploring just because those are 2 gunners we see nowhere. And unfortunately, Flight Leader Will doesn't have enough loadout to have someone like 5th Brother and a real like big cannon, right? So Agile still might be a really good play just because it's cheap and it's versatile. You don't have to spend an action on rotating. You can just do what you need to do, stressed or not. But I think testing out Suppressive or Hotshot could be worth it because now this is an I-5 brute. You're shooting amongst more of the same ships, and if you shoot first when you're trading shots with another I-5, that Hotshot
like
gunner and Suppressive could be pretty helpful.
I do like that Suppressive. If your main actions reinforce, right, you're not worrying with targeting assist. You're just trying to stay alive because you're getting shot at. Suppressive Gunner, not having those calculates from targeting assist could be a great way to increase your offense there. Well, increase, you know what I'm trying to say, modify your offense.
Increase your offense or tell your opponent that their outputting offense against you is limited.
Right. That's true. The only other, I do want to do a PSA that MiGs Mayfield and Veteran Turret Gunner do not work on heavies. Stop trying that. They do not work. Your primary is your turret, which is very confusing, but it's one weapon, essentially. Though, who does work is Tiber Saxon. If you don't want to take Trick Shot and Agile, you can take Tiber Saxon, start handing out strains as well. A lot easier to hit at an opponent at range 2 if you're making multiple attacks. Could be a great way to do it. I think he's got some options. I'm far more inclined to run him other than Rampage and Lighten Dree at 5 points. That bonus attack could really do some work. It's just keeping it on the table long enough for it to be effective.
All right, so now the two factions that we did not get an opportunity to talk about yet would be the First Order and the Resistance. Do we want to tackle those this week? We want to go from next week? What are your thoughts?
Let's say give them some time for next week.
All right.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we got a lot of great ideas yet. I think everyone's still feeling out Resistance. A lot of new options there, so could really spend some time on that.
All right, so we'll go ahead and take a look there, especially with the fact that so many of those RZ2A wings came down to 4 points. Playable again?
Some are 3, Dio.
Some are 3. What?
Two of them are 3 points.
This is absurd.
Well, they're not 2 points though. So
True.
We all
True.
we all have that. What do I want to say? We all know where the edge is now. We clearly know what can and cannot be 2 points.
All right, don't do it. Auto include. Try to avoid it. All right. Well, so far that's our look into Hotshots and Aces. So far, again, that was released just this past week, and we're looking forward to see you all playing them on the table. I have done a little bit more planning for our upcoming Gold Squadron League. Look out for that. Also, officially, rollbetter.gg has officially launched and has gone from alpha to beta testing. I wouldn't put everything on it and say that everything is 100% ready to go, but a lot of its features are. And make sure if you have any feature requests, if you have any issues, to let Brian Gamble know. He's very responsive, and of course is trying to put together a product that he is really proud of. So for everybody else here at Gold Squadron, I want to say thank you so much for your time. Be smart and be safe. Gold Squadron out.